Here you are seeing me marking off the borders of a standard coloring page, which is an 8 by 10. I'm working on a 9 by 12. I do plan to draw outside those borders with the original, but this shows me where my printed image will end. When I do line art, I tend to always do thick and thin lines. I don't like one size of a line throughout the image. I find it uninteresting, and this way you can emphasize certain areas and parts of the image that you choose to uh, put emphasis on. And that little episode of hand wrangling back there was me. I was doing a live with this original, and I was probably explaining something to my listeners. And some hands, I talk with my hands. Only when I'm drawing do I not use my hands when I talk. I do not make any sketches or plans when I start one of these stream of consciousness line arts that I do. I just let the drawing kind of take its own path, and then I kind of like lean and push it certain ways to fit my sense of design and balance. A lot of hand waving going on, and that's telling me that I'm describing something or explaining why or what I'm doing at the moment. This is why I do lives while I draw. Um, Actually, it takes me probably twice as long to do a drawing, if not more. But I think people learn a lot from watching me draw and talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing as I'm doing it, if that made any sense. I remember saying at this point that those little paisley curls that I had put in there looked like little pod people to me. That last little curl on the last big one looked like a little hand coming out. This black and white stripe area that I'm putting in and the following ones are kind of a signature of mine. I started doing them on my painted rocks as borders, and then I started incorporating them into my actual designs. When I'm working on a piece that I have not pre-designed and worked out the balance and everything beforehand, I have to take the time during the drawing itself to stop and take a few moments every once in a while to balance things, look at it and say, what does it need to balance it? Where does it need to go? And also The elements themselves, I have to stop and think, what do I want to put here? Do I want to put anything here? I'm very, very fond of and cognizant of negative space. It's as important as the actual design itself. And so it's one of the things that I pay a lot of attention to. And you'll see later in the drawing when I go in to put my pointless shading, the little dots that I use to like shade areas to create depth. I'm I am considering one area that I want to put them in, and I'm stopping to think, do I want that placed there? Because that is going to drop the background behind those elements. And I had not originally thought that they were in the background. So these things that you have to process those as you're drawing when you're doing something that you did not pre-plan. I also, if you see on the left-hand side of the drawing, right there is something. It's sort of a black. It looks like an upside down eagle or penguin to me. Okay, I put that into the design very early on, and as I developed the design, that began to become a problem. And it was something that I had to deal with through that entire drawing. And I had to solve that issue because he was not working with the design. I had to find a way to make him work. This drawing is going to be, or it is planned to be, part of a coloring book. I haven't done one in a long time. And I really could go in and make any changes or correct any mistakes or any smears or anything like that. That can be all corrected digitally as I go in and place the drawing itself into the page layout. But I really like the idea of having originals that match the actual drawings in the book, and I like to actually color those myself sometimes. That means I don't get to make digital corrections on these. I have to either not make a mistake or it has to be something that I can correct right then and there on the drawing. You'll notice I'm moving the page around, and now I'm pointing at something else, but I move the page around. I like to look at a drawing from the top, the bottom, the side, upside down, because it shows me what is out of balance or what, could be accented or etc. You always should take a good look at your drawings. They used to tell us to hold them up in a mirror. I prefer them turned upside down. The mirror used to drive me nuts. Another thing you'll notice is when I'm taking a break and looking at the design, you'll see me move my hands, which you may think I'm talking at that point, but not always. Often I do this little mind trick where I move my hand where I think I may draw something. And it's sort of like having it actually be there and lets me feel and see whether or not it's I'm going to like it and it's going to be well balanced. Now, these lines were actually the result of me doing that little hand waving movement type of thing to think about putting them in, and they did work there. Right there, I was testing pen widths to see what I wanted to use inside the larger elements. Now I'm working on the final uh, accents and touches to the drawing. I can feel I'm coming to the finish line, but I'm working on those larger open areas and getting some interest and some movement and some areas in there for the colorists to be able to change their colors and have some fun. If you leave too many big open areas, the drawing is boring and the coloring is going to be boring. And that's not the whole point of this. This is to make people enjoy and relax and have fun. On the other hand, you don't want to completely fill in the larger elements because you want to leave some room for the person who's coloring the page to add in some of their own creativity and maybe use some of their own designs and own patterns to balance the piece. And it gives them a sense of contribution to the piece that's more than just adding color. You can see that I'm still contemplating and working on what to do with those that. There's my answer. With that little whatever he is, I decided just to draw him right off of the page. Okay? I just jumped him out. And by that I mean I actually curved him through the design or them and into an element where I needed to put something anyway and pointed him off the edge of the page. And what will happen is the eye will follow him off and take him out. Bye bye, penguin, eagle, worm, whatever you are. We're now coming up to a critical part in any drawing, getting close to the end and knowing when you're done. That's very hard to learn. It takes some time and some years to have enough experience to begin to know when to leave a piece alone. We have a tendency, artists do, to want to keep working and perfecting it, and we have to overcome that. So you have to pay attention to the piece. Sorry, I keep my glasses keep falling off of my head. Um, anyway, that's something that takes a while to learn, and it's part of you and your relationship to the drawing. And as an artist, you kind of need to pay attention to that. Right here, I can tell you I'm talking about my circles. I love circles. They are a wonderful design element in certain areas where you don't want a big square or a big shape, but you need to pop some color and pop some movement in. Circles and little tiny pieces linked together like that work real good. So do lines lined up like I just did with that circle down there. Well, talking about knowing when you're finished, we are at the end of the drawing and close to the end of the video. So thank you very much for stopping and watching. And please subscribe and see more of my videos. And See you later.